Hi everyone, it's Paul Sankey. My firm, Sankey Research, which is a wee firm, ranked #1 on Wall Street for independent energy research. 2023, according to the Institutional Investor magazine. I think. I didn't buy it. So here I am, and we're going to do our usual thing, which is our weekly outlook. But the main message today is Happy Christmas. And I just wanted to share with you this wonderful place, which is Tapalpa. Central Mexico is where I am. I get around, right? And what we're doing here is a family Christmas right in the middle of Mexico with no gringos, and I'm not a gringo. So English people here, probably just me, but it's an absolutely wonderful place, stunningly beautiful little town in the center of Mexico. And of course, one of the things you have to watch in life is the quality of culture, you know, and the depth of culture in Mexico really is second to none. The key determinant being the strength of family. And of course they have religion, and they believe absolutely, they love their Catholicism. So Christmas here is a big deal. It's not actually the biggest deal, because if you're a true Catholic, Easter week is a bigger deal, and arguably is a big deal in Mexico than Christmas. And of course, underlining the fact that this is one of the 5 original civilizations, or oldest civilizations. You're talking China, you're talking India, you're talking Iraq, you're talking Peru, and you're talking Mexico. These places underlying this Catholicism have a much deeper spirituality, which is truly remarkable. So these churches often are built on the foundations of former spiritual centers, and that makes being here in central Mexico absolutely fascinating. Okay, listen, just to get to oil a little bit and energy, because that's what we're meant to talk about. We remain, very bullish on the whole natural gas to AI theme. Talked about that every week for months. In fact, I look back and surprised myself, because the first note we wrote about natural gas to AI was back in January of this year, when we were talking about the Virginia data center market, which is a remarkable market. 98% of the world's emails, they say, go through Virginia. And you're out of power, and so you need a lot more electricity. And I can tell you, here in Mexico, we have a power shortage at the house. They're burning a little bit of propane. They have a canister for the fire. And they are having an issue with the CFE, the Comisión Federal de Electricidad, is not supplying them enough electricity, and they're going to have to upgrade their supply. They do have a massive mansion, it has to be said. But up here, which is sort of the weekend destination for the inhabitants of Guadalajara that are rich, there's an issue with electricity, and that's a global issue. So the world is electrifying, and it needs more supply. And adding nuclear, which will be the solution, is going to be very difficult. And in the meantime, you can't buy a gas-fired power generation. And one of our favorite stocks, GE Vernova, other stocks like Constellation and Vistra, have all had an amazing year. And we think that the capex is going to keep coming from these power companies, because the demand here for AI is so enormous. And as you can tell, we're sort of getting into it as well, because we're going more social media, and we're going to make this a lot more funky in terms of a weekly video for you, because I've hired my Mexican honorary nephew, Fur, to be my social media manager, and he's going to get these videos much cooler. And I hope you'll see that at the end of this video. So what else is happening? We're actually much more cheerful about oil. We think that the sanctions on Russia and Iranian tankers is having a tightening effect on the oil market. Saudi is holding the line very successfully. And so we're at least in equilibrium here, and we're getting winter. Now, of course, this is not a good place to call winter, but I would say that I left New York and it was snowing. And I know that it's pretty chilly in Europe, and they're drawing natural gas hard. We had Gordon Shearer, the top LNG analyst guru, on our weekly call this week, and he was saying that the shortening of LNG routes has collapsed LNG tanker rates. So LNG tankers are doing much shorter trips, and what that tells you is very bullish for US LNG, because essentially with Trump having said that he wants the Europeans to buy more US energy, we're actually maxing out all our supply to the US. And of course, that's going to be one of the themes for 2025, which will be that there's these internal inconsistencies in what Trump is saying. And one of them was threatening Europe with tariffs if they don't buy more US energy. And I think the response from Europe would be, dude, we're buying everything we can because we're very short natural gas. And so the theme has been actually that LNG tankers have been delivered, ready for major project startups, but the projects have not delivered. And so we're seeing some startups right now with Plaquemines starting up and the IPO of Venture Global coming up. But in reality, the US LNG supply side has not kept up with demand, and it's all sold out. And there's actually legal disputes amongst LNG suppliers as regarding spot supply because there's so much demand. They don't want to meet their term contracts. They'd rather sell it on the spot market. So it looks awesome in natural gas, and of course that also fits with the AI theme. On oil, as I mentioned, Saudi is tightening the market nicely and holding the line. Additional, very uncertain attitude from Trump regarding Iran and Russia will help the market. Certainly the Biden administration tightening of sanctions on tankers has served to tighten the market. And of course, as I mentioned, you have a situation where you have a tightness because of winter. So, winter is actually showing up in Europe, and that should feed through into tighter oil markets, which I expect to happen. And the big question for us is, will that also tighten refining and make refining a better place to be? The refiners have held up well, but we have seen very poor margins. And so the question is, do you buy them here even though they've held up well despite terrible margins? And I think, we'll see. We're holding our conference, which we always do on January the 6th every year, of independent refiners, and we'll see how they feel about the market. They're not that great at calling the macro, quite frankly, but they're way better than the big oil companies. And I would think that they would say that, seasonally things will get better here, and we'll see. Certainly if winter shows up, which of course is a question for January, February, then we should be in pretty good shape. So refining is an open question, but we're much more cheerful about the oil price because we see Saudi holding the market together, and we see demand from winter combining with sanctions on Russia and Iran as basically holding the market together. It doesn't change the spare capacity situation, and we still see an oversupply of oil into 2026 because of non-OPEC startups. For example, we were just highlighting a major Norwegian startup in Q1 that'll add 220,000 barrels a day to the market, and that's part of a pattern that combines with Guyana, Canada, and some US growth to exceed what is a worrying demand picture led by China. So China remains a problem. There's stimulus chat. But the fact of the matter is China made a big mistake under Xi, which is they should have opened the economy and gone democratic. But what they actually did was tighten down the economy and go totalitarian. And that is going to possibly break, when you combine it with population issues, possibly break the Chinese economy, and that's the biggest threat, no question, for 2025, combined with the US deficit. And so what's so interesting about Trump is, as we've said many times, is the internal inconsistencies that he faces. He said he'll lower the deficit but increase economic growth. He said he'll lower taxes but reduce the deficit. He said he's pro-Israel, but he said he's pro-Saudi. There's numerous things that we've highlighted to you that are an issue with Trump and how that works out, and of course that will be the biggest single theme of 2025. Okay, the main message is you've got to understand energy. And here in Mexico, everywhere I go, we need more energy. Whether we do that through renewables, whether we do it through oil and gas, the key thing we want you to do is follow this channel so you understand what's going on from a Wall Street perspective, from a money perspective in global energy. But obviously the big message is happy Christmas to all the best for 2025 here from Mexico, where there is no better place than to join the family for Christmas. Thank you, Carlos. Go for it.